Hello, hello. Welcome to another Monday morning of the Book Cellar. I'm your host, Jessica Gillen, here to bring you 2 book reviews. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, you're getting 2. This show is brought to you by Eventide Entertainment. Monday morning and book review time. I was not misspeaking when I said that I have 2 reviews for you today. That is correct. However, the first review is quite short because it was listed as a DNF, as in did not finish. So we're going to follow that up with a book that I listened to through an audiobook and also read the last week. So hopefully this will kind of at some point become one book review, I guess. It'll combine into one superhuman book. Not human, but anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. So let's get going here. How is everyone? Did you have a great week? Did you read anything fun? There has been quite a few awesome book releases lately. There's a lot of releases that are catching my eye. I would say the last year or so has been kind of slow for me as far as book releases. Like I haven't felt super invested or excited, but these last 2-3 months or so have been crazy. I mean, if I had so much money, I would be buying books left and right, and instead I'm hunting down my library web pages and trying to check out as many books as I can. Actually, after I make this review, I'm going to be going to my library to get my next books kind of up in the queue here because I do have to get a couple of them delivered from other libraries. Right now, I have 2 to 3 books that I'm starting to read. One in particular I have been reading for the last week or so. I enjoy it very much, and it's actually an adult mystery. So you will probably get that this next week. But you're not here next week. It's Monday, June 11th. You're here for the book review now. So, what did I read last week? Man, oh man. So I read this book. You might have heard it. It's called Ash Princess by Sebastian. Now, this book was released not that long ago, about 2 months ago in April 24th of 2018. It is a debut novel. It's book 1 of the Ash Princess series, and it's a pretty average size YA book, at least in the fantasy genre, coming in at 432 pages. It is a smaller book. I know some books, such as Renegades, that is a huge book. So when that book was like 550 pages, that was massive. This book, although it is 432 pages, is a little bit smaller, so it's not really going to read like a very dense book. Now, with that said, I did say I did not finish, so really, I can't tell you that you'll get through it fast or anything like that, because I didn't finish it personally. So let's do the description really quick, and I'll give you why I couldn't finish it. All right, sound good? Cool. Cue the music. Theodorsa was 6 when her country was invaded and her mother, the Fire Queen, was murdered before her eyes. On that day, the Kaiser took Theodorsa's family, her land, and her name. Theo was crowned Ash Princess, a title of shame to bear in her new life as a prisoner. For 10 years, Theo has been a captive in her own palace. She's endured the relentless abuse and ridicule of the Kaiser and his court. She is powerless, surviving to her new world only by burying the girl she was deep inside. Then, one night, the Kaiser forces her to do the unthinkable. With blood on her hands and all hope of reclaiming her throne lost, she realizes that surviving is no longer enough. But does she have a weapon? Her mind is sharper than any sword. and power isn't always won on the battlefield. For 10 years, the Ash Princess has seen her land pillaged and her people enslaved. That all ends here. Alright, so it does sound like an interesting plot. I mean, I say that kind of with like, a smirk on my face, because really it does and it doesn't. It seems to be a lot like other books in this genre that we have read as a community. Now I'm talking about on behalf of all of us. So my problem with this book, I was interested in it. It is a very recent release. It's kind of a buzz novel right now. People are talking about it. It's a debut, so usually people are also talking about that. A lot of challenges in Goodreads and just in the book community in general is a lot of people like to read debut novels to kind of bring in new authors into the genre to get some new blood, I guess. So with that said, because there was a lot of hype, I was kind of looking forward to reading this because I wanted to see what people were talking about, if this deserves the hype that it's starting to get. My answer is no. And I say that because this book, I only read about 150, maybe almost 200 pages, about like 180, 150. I kind of skimmed towards like 200, and it was well written. I'm not saying that she's not a good writer. I could follow along. The pace was really well done. The character was interesting, that her mind is really her weapon rather than being like, a mercenary or an assassin kind of style. She's very witty and smart. But at the same time, this plot of, girl loses kingdom and her family, and she's put into shame, but she wants to get her kingdom back, and she meets a boy that helps her get her kingdom back, and she's able to manipulate her way out of tight situations without anyone ever questioning anything. And also, I mean, there was a love triangle, but again, like I didn't fully read the book, but I saw the hints of that coming. It was pretty early on. And it just felt very much like a, not cookie cutter, but it was fitting the mold that a lot of the YA fantasy genre kind of has right now. I know that princess stories and kind of that fairy tale kind of story has been kind of one of those big subgenres in this genre. I know before it was dystopian, and now dystopian and my foot's asleep, sorry. So the dystopian and the fairy tale world is kind of morphing into each other, and they're taking both and kind of combining them. Now, I have read this kind of story a bunch of times. Just recently, a couple months ago, I read the first book, Red Queen, which was also a very popular book, a very popular series right now. And I had the same problem with it. Very much a story I've heard before. Girl has issues. She has to get her kingdom back. There's, a little bit of magic or a little bit of mystery, and it all kind of boils down to the same point. And I'm just sick of that. When I want to read this genre, I want to find the new, thrilling, interesting concepts. I want originality. I understand you have to borrow, like, especially if you're inspired by certain books. I get that. I know that there's going to be some things that kind of overlap with each other. But at the same time, I don't want to be able to 50 pages, 100 pages in, kind of know this plot, this song and dance. We've been here before. I just don't want to invest my time into something like that at this point in my life. I don't think people are going to have a big problem with it. I do think it'll do well. It will be a book that probably a younger audience will enjoy. So probably around 16, 17 years old will really like. But for someone that has kind of dipped her foot in this water that is the YA genre of fantasy, I just have seen this before. I've read it before. I know what's going to happen. I know how this trilogy is going to kind of pan out. Obviously, I don't know like the full extent of the plot, but I know the gist of this. I kind of don't need to read to know what this book is going to be about. And that was just kind of how I felt. And so I didn't finish it and decided to move on. Now, will I try it again at some point? I might try the audiobook if it comes out, just because I do end up reading a lot of audiobooks or listening to a lot of audiobooks. I might give it a shot in that way. But for reading, it's going to be a no. So I gave it 1 star. I only give it a 1 star because it did not finish. So it's not a full rating. It's just right now, it's not for me. So if you have actually read that book, please leave me a comment either on my Goodreads or reach out to me on my email, some way or another. Find some links down below and let me know if you actually really liked it and you're like, whoa, Jessica, I'm telling you right now, like page 300, this book kind of takes you for a loop. You don't see something coming. It's not the same, etc., etc. Please tell me that, because it just didn't feel original to me, and that's why I didn't want to read it anymore. So if you have thought differently, or it's just a really bomb book, please let me know. Reach out. Harp on me. Get angry with me. Whatever. I just want people to get excited and inspired by books again, and that's the whole reason why I do this podcast. So, moving the F on. What's the book that I actually am fully going to review for you guys today? So I'm going to do a quick review. We are going to take a very short break, however, but the book that I'm reviewing is one that has been out for quite a long time, but I absolutely love this author. This is one of my favorite authors of all time. I just have not read this book, and I finally finished it, so we're going to get to that right after this break. Make sure to stay tuned and listen to all of our offerings here at Eventide Entertainment.
There's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company.
Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers, writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes. Wednesdays on Eventide, Robert Yetter and Mike Shea sit down and throw albums at each other, talking about them, picking them apart, ripping them a new one. All different artists, all different genres, all different levels of suckage. It's Track Record, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. on the Eventide podcast feed. For more information, go to eventideent.com.
All right, we're back. Hello. It's me again. The person that does this podcast. My name's Jessica. I don't know if you're just showing up or... Okay, so seriously. I don't know what I'm doing half the time. I'm not used to recording during the middle of the day. I get kind of energized here halfway through. I've had a little bit of coffee, maybe too much. So I'm a little excited today. I apologize. I will slow it down and be chill and cool. So, next book. Again, I apologize before I even tell you what this book is. Please understand that I've had this book for a very long time. I've looked at it multiple times. I've tried reading it before, and it just wasn't the right time. I just wasn't ready to start a relationship with this book. So, this book came out quite a long time ago. Here we go. It is 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Bardugo? Oh my gosh. This is terrible. I love this author. I cannot say her last name. She is the author of the Shadow and Bone series, for those of you that know of her or do not know of her but have remembered that trilogy. It was all over the book community here for a long time. Such an amazing book trilogy. That was one of my favorite book trilogies in the YA genre that I've ever read. So good. Yes, I understand Harry Potter, but Harry Potter is middle grade, people. I'm talking YA adult. Shadow and Bone trilogy, amazing. So good. So, with that said, same author, new duology. This is 6 of Crows. It is book 1 in the Six of Crows duology. The second book is Crooked Kingdom. Also has been out for a little while, but, I'm a little behind on the times here. So, it is quite a big book. It is bigger than your average book. I don't know what I was going on there in my head. It's just a little bit bigger. So, the fact that it's 462 pages, that is a big book. It is heavy. It's going to be very plot heavy, character heavy, a lot of development, world building, at least I hope. No, but really it was. It was very dense. And I think that was one of the reasons why I was kind of turned off from it a couple of times. I get really worried about big giant books holding my attention. Not to say that I have ADHD or ADD. I just do not have a lot of time to just sit down and plow through a book sometimes. Renegades was one of those books. It was huge. And to kind of look at that at my desk and be like, how the hell am I going to sit down for multiple hours and read you? I need to pay attention. I need coffee, no distractions. Can't be one of those books that you get up a bunch of times. So I have put it off for a long time. And it is a long time. This was released September 29th, 2015, guys. Yeah, I'm a little behind on the times here. And this book was everywhere. It still is. It's, from what I've seen, the ratings are crazy on this. There is over 23,000 reviews on this book alone. It has a 4.46 Goodreads rating, which is incredible considering how many reviews that is. I think it was over like 100,000 ratings on this book alone. Just crazy. It has about 1,000 reviews on Amazon with a 4.5 rating, so it is doing very well. I have not heard much at all about people not liking this. The only bad things I've heard is people cannot get into it in the beginning, but therefore they cannot rate really the book because they haven't really read it. Kind of with my last one, yes, I gave it a 1 star, but really that's just my DNF star rating. So, yeah. All right, so like I said, this author is extremely, extremely popular in Goodreads, the book world, the book community, in YA. She is very, very popular. I love her. And she is already coming out with a new series. I want to say the new book is coming out in 2019. Completely new series. It's not even going to be in the same universe as this was. And yeah. Honestly, when I first was starting to read this book, I didn't know that this was not a continuation of Shadow and Bone, but it was within the same universe as Shadow and Bone. So Six of Crows still uses the Grisha that were in Shadow and Bone. So I wish I would have known about that sooner because I probably would have devoured this in a couple days alone, just because of how much I love the Shadow and Bone trilogy. So that was really, really cool, getting to still be in that world that was so beautiful and fleshed out, great world building, to get more in-depth, different parts of that world, a different city, was so cool. So let's get with the description of this book, shall we? Cue the music, Jessica. Ketterdam, a bustling hub of international trade where anything can be had for the right price. And no one knows that better than criminal prodigy Kaz Brecker. Kaz is offered a chance at a deadly heist that can make him rich beyond his wildest dreams, but he can't pull it off alone. A convict with a thirst for revenge, a sharpshooter who can't walk away from a wager, a runaway with a privileged past, a spy known as the Wraith, a heartrender using her magic to survive the slums, a thief with a gift for unlikely escape. 6 dangerous outcasts, 1 impossible heist. Kaz's crew is the only thing that might stand between the world and destruction, if they don't kill each other first. So, because this book has been out, I'm sure mostly all of you know the plot, so I'm going to basically very briefly say what this book is about. Basically, it's Kaz, who is the main leader. He's promised a very large sum of money in order to kidnap a scientist from what's called the Ice Court, as he is someone who's created some kind of drug, or I'm pretty sure it is like a drug, that is insanely powerful and given to Grisha to kind of increase their powers and just make them crazy powerful. It's insane what this drug does to some of them. However, the Ice Court is kind of one of the most highly protected places in this Geisha-verse, I guess. And Kaz, the leader, can't infiltrate it by himself, so he has to be able to hire a crew. And he already has some people under his own crew that he really trusts, so he kind of hires them to kind of be on his team. Those people are Kaz himself, Inej, Jesper, Nina, and Matthias. Nina is the Grisha Heartrender. Matthias is like a soldier that has a complicated history with Nina. Inej is like the stealthy chick who can find out all the secrets and is very good at climbing things. She's very quiet, hence the stealthy thing I was saying. Jesper is a really good shot. And finally, we have Waylon, who has some political ties, and he's really good at blowing things up. So this is his crew, and they have to infiltrate to grab the scientist to be able to bring him back to this guy that's offering him a lot of money. So basically, this book is a heist. It is a lot of fun. Think Ocean's 11 meets a fantasy book. It's so much fun, really well done as far as a fun plot, original, and just kind of a fast-paced read with some downtime learning about the characters. So we have six point of view characters, which is a turnoff. I do not like how much point of views we have in this book. Not only does that kind of make it confusing, but for people like me who don't normally like multiple point of views, to have 6 is a little much. I don't need that many. Now, I could have gotten rid of 2. I got invested in 4 characters. 2 of them I didn't really care about. I won't tell you who they are, but I didn't really care about them. 4 of them I did. So maybe I could do 4 point of views, but even still, that many, it's just hard to remember things. It's hard to not feel distracted, especially when you're going through the history of some of those characters. So 6 point of view characters was a lot. And the point of view characters are Kaz, Inej, Nina, Matthias, Jesper, and Waylon. So that was like my main issue with the book, and it's why I didn't give it a full 5-star rating, was because of how many characters I had to be invested in and paying attention to. Now, I did say at the beginning of the show that I listened to the audiobook of this. I also read a little bit of it during the times that I couldn't be in my car to listen. So I kind of got best of both worlds. When I was reading, I kind of felt confused by some of the characters. When I was listening to the audiobook, it didn't feel as confusing because there were so many voice actors for the reading of the novel. So I could remember who was the point of view character based on the voice that was talking. So that kind of helped a lot. And honestly, the voice actors were really good. I am quite impressed with that audiobook. I have read my fair share, or listened to my fair share of audiobooks, and that was a really good one. It really helped keep me engaged, was super fast paced, really great readers. They had a lot of emotion in their voice, especially some of them, that kind of almost made me choke up a few times. So just really well done and a lot of fun to listen to. So I think that helps me a lot with the characters. But if I was just reading this book plain, just straight up, it would have been confusing. And I can see why people have an issue with that. So overall, the ensemble cast of the characters was amazing. She is so talented. She truly, truly is one of the best YA fantasy authors of our generation. She is the reason why I keep reading young adult fantasy, because writers like her, it doesn't matter what age you are, you will enjoy her books. She is just a very, very good writer. We'll get into her writing for a minute, but I just had to spell that out and say it because, I mean, the character development, I mean, she's writing 3 males and 3 females, I think, or 4 males and 2 females, and she's fleshing them out with a lot of complicated storylines, a lot of complicated history. Each one has their own distinct personality. They all interweave with each other, so it's not like someone kind of gets the short end of the stick. It feels very much like we are learning about all the characters and getting invested in them. So I can't believe that she was able to write that many characters and for it to still be so in-depth for each one. So yes, there was a lot of characters, but holy crap, she can write. I mean, she really can. I felt really invested in everyone, every character. I had a lot of feelings, especially near the end. Holy guacamole. My feelings, fluttering in my chest. I wish I could just say them all right now. If you want to talk to me about this book and talk about our feelings, let me know. No, but seriously, I was just really invested in the characters, really invested in the story, and it just really kept me engaged, and I really can't wait to read the second one, Crooked Kingdom, especially after that ending. What? So with that said, let's talk about the writing. Like I said, she is one of the best fantasy authors in YA that I have ever had the opportunity to read, and I do hope that one day, I know she really enjoys to write young adult. I just hope that one day she writes an adult fantasy, because I think she has she's like in between, really. It feels really complicated and complex for young adults to have this level of fantasy in the genre, but it's like also still feels like I'm reading an adult fantasy. She's just such a good writer. Very much comes up with very original plots. Really great job at building the magic system. Now, mind you, this is the same magic system from Shadow and Bone, but she created that entire universe of Shadow and Bone, so go ahead, girl. Keep using your amazing talents to flesh out this world. Her world building, Ketterdam, was so cool to kind of see the different alleyways and the different storefronts, and it was just so cool. She really blows me away, and she makes reading and listening to audiobooks extremely enjoyable. She, like I said, she's great at the magic system, kind of explaining that, making it make sense, which if you've heard other reviews of mine, you know that I have an issue with that in fantasy books. It's kind of like they say, this is the magic system. I'm not going to explain it to you. You're just going to be like, aha, yeah, that makes sense. It doesn't, though. She really takes the time to explain it to you. And if you don't understand, don't worry. She'll explain it in a completely different way a couple 100 pages down the road or in a different book. She's just very good at making it make sense. She's fantastic at world building. The book had great pacing. There would be some lulls when we were having our character development, especially in the first half of the book. It was a little bit slower. Mind you, we know this, right? Book 1, as well as it's a very big book. We know the first brunt of the book is going to be character development. So yes, it was a little slower in the beginning, but man, it takes off when you hit that halfway part. It's just incredible. And I mean, I would say it was a 4-star up until the middle, and then it was 5-star all the way through, which is why I give it a rating of 4.5. She's really complex with her characters, really well thought out, a lot of diversity and intricacies within each character. The plot was just so cool. A heist, I mean, come on, a heist fantasy, just beautiful. And that ending, oh my god, that ending. I can't believe that ending. This book was amazing. I am truly, truly bummed that I didn't read this sooner because I need book 2 now. Mind you, I'm not going to be able to get to that for at least a couple weeks just because I do have books already planned out for the next couple weeks. So, but boy, oh boy, that was really good. Really, really good. I'm so impressed with her. She is such a great author. And I think for me, she's one of those authors that I will literally read everything she writes. Especially, I mean, after reading Six of Crows, I'm just blown away. So blown away. All right, so that was my review of both books. It was a slow week, and I apologize for that. We did read a book that was 3 years old, but what the hey, why not? It was on my shelf staring at me for a very long time. I actually have a couple books that I need to read that are on my shelf that are quite old, so look for those. And we also got to talk about Ash Princess. What a disappointment that was. But if you like that book and you need to convince me, like, Jessica, you need to read this. This is why. Please email me, message me on Goodreads. Tell me why you liked it. I would love to hear from you. So with that said, I hope you have a wonderful Monday morning and the rest of your week. And I will see you next week with a mystery thriller in the adult genre. See you later. Happy reading.